This video has been a long time coming. I didn't think it would take this long to finally get here, but I had a lot of things to discuss first. It's kind of set up the foundation that I needed to kind of like talk about any of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, and for all the other things that I'm going to discuss after this video to make sense. And yeah, I didn't expect it to take that long. Surely there were some times where I didn't stick to my upload schedule, but I had my reasons. So yeah, well, this video is kind of like straying off the path of rationality. This is where things kind of like get strange, I would say. Very weird and strange. I think this is where the spiritual part of the channel starts for we are. I wouldn't say we are veering off Christianity or rationality, because they are what I've been discussing for the entire channel so far. They are the foundation of the channel. They are the foundation of everything I'll be discussing in this video and in all the videos that are to come. But in a sense, it is a kind of stepping off, because if we stay completely rational, nothing makes sense. And if we stay completely Christian, then there are some things that you would never fully explore. Some things that probably won't make sense in a way. I will be exploring a lot of belief structures. I will be talking about many other beliefs, many other spirits, ancestors, and gods. For they too come into play, they too play a part in the story that I am about to tell. And not everything is exactly Christian kosher, I would say. You know, stay within the confines or the rules. We're here to break our perceptual structures, our belief systems, to see what is beyond what is in this world, what is unseen, what is unheard, and to fully explore spiritual gifts, their limits, and especially how broad and vast and how far you can go in developing your sight, your gifts, your experience in this world, and all that you can do and see throughout your journey. Well, in this video, I will be telling the story of my initiation, per se. Well, I'm still initiating, but I think I've been through enough to tell a interesting and coherent story thus far. So yeah, let me get into it. Where do I start? Let me start with childhood, I would say. Because my life has always been strange in a way. There have always been strange things, strange occurrences. Mostly I ignored because, well, first, I didn't know how to explain it. Second, I didn't believe in anything. I didn't have a belief structure. I think my parents were raised Christian, and they kind of tried to give us a Christian upbringing. But I didn't really believe in it. Never went to church, just found the entire thing out of this world and just nothing to concern myself about as a rational atheist. But there were still strange occurrences that happened throughout my life, and I think they started when I was in primary, probably around the age of 9 or 10. Our house, the house that we lived in, it was kind of haunted, I would say. It was a strange haunting. There were things that moved around at night, kind of like that played with the tiles on the floor and made noise. Kind of sounded like someone was walking past, kind of like the passageway from the dining area all the way to the kitchen. And they'd go up and down all night, stepping on the kind of like loose tiles on the floor and making a noise. Every time we'd wake up to go check, obviously we'd find nothing there, and it was scary, it was strange. On some days, you would hear the toilet flushing or the toilet door opening and the light switching on. We'd get up, go to the toilet and go check, and we'd find no one there. We'd ask around the people living in the house, like who switched on the lights and left them on the entire night, and no one would have woken up. No one was there. The lights switched themselves on. The toilet flushed itself. The doors opened by themselves. I think the haunting got to a point where my parents kind of like called a Sangoma or a prophet. Well, I think they started with prophets. Called a prophet, just like, please come check out the house, find out what's happening. I think there's something in there, some spirit, tikoloshi, just whatever that's roaming throughout our house. Can you please come check it out, and if you can, remove it. And they'd come, we'd have a consultation. They'd sit there, they'd pray, and they'd pray, and they'd pray. They'd pray for water, and they'd splash the water all over the house. They'd splash it in the toilet. They'd splash it on the passage. They'd splash the water on the tiles. And it would be an entire thing, eh? And we'd have to cleanse and bath with the water. And yeah, they'd get paid. They'd go back to wherever they came from, and we'd stay in the house and wait for the results, but nothing ever worked. The noises were still persistent. The toilet still flushed itself, even after many prophets, many different prophets, many sangomas as well. Like babefika, bachize, ibe ilonto, be imithi, izwasho, kudityaniswe, kuhlanjwe, kuthandazwe, kwenziwe yonke into. Qha le nto ayiphumi, ayide iphume. I think all the way up until we moved out, whatever that lived with us, whatever spirit, whatever ghost, whatever it was always there in the background, always moving things. Sometimes keys or small objects would disappear around the house. It was just strange. But I think like those things you can kind of like learn to ignore because they're not that much of an inconvenience. Like you can't just wake up in the morning and switch off the toilet light. It's whatever. Like we kind of got to the point where we just learned to live with it because no one could kind of like get rid of it in a way. So it was, yeah, it was whatever. We're living here, it's our family and whatever spirits that live in this house with us in a way. But there were some days that you would really see something that would totally freak you out. Like there was one day, like I'd wake up in the early hours of the morning and kind of like just lay on my bed, probably after a bad dream or whatever. It didn't necessarily have to be a bad dream, I'd just wake up. And my bed kind of like looked into the lounge. So I could see the sofas, the TVs, the everything. And someday I'd open my eyes and there'd kind of be a man sitting in the living room on the sofa. TV's off, the lights are off, everything else is off. It's just the silhouette of a very, very old man sitting there. And he had this cough. It was very hoarse, very dry, very long and drawn out. And he'd cough and, well, it would scare the hell out of me. I was just like, I am not waking up to go and confront whoever he is. So I'd fall back to sleep and wake up in the morning and tell my parents what I had seen that night, and they would also agree that they also hear this cough, this hoarse and dry cough throughout the night on some days. But at this point, we had accepted that whatever we live with, he lives with us, and we had really tried to get rid of everything that lived with us, and nothing worked. Nothing changed. So yeah, life moves on. We move out of the house, and I think at the new house, there wasn't much that was there in terms of spirits. Nothing haunted the house, nothing strange happened in the house, and we kind of forgot about the entire ordeal of hauntings and spirits and things roaming around the house that we can't see. And we lived a normal life throughout my high school years. Yeah. I think I already made a video about my high school days, and that was in Pain is a Choice. High school came and went, and the next strange thing that happened was in my matric year, around the end of the year, my friends and I went out to go watch a movie, go grab some drinks, and we went to Gold Reef City by the casino. We were walking around. This was also around the time of matric dance, so we were all kind of like still shopping for suits that we were going to wear, and we went into this one suit shop just to look at what they had. Maybe we were going to find something we liked. We went in, looked around, we're just like, nothing much. We didn't find much. We didn't find anything, actually, but the strange thing happened when we were leaving. As we were going for the door, the man that was helping, or the man that worked there, he was like an old Indian man, probably in his late 50s, early 60s. he stops us and tells us to wait. So we turn around, give him our attention, and he kind of like looks at us. And he looks at me and he's just like, "You with the mark on the thigh." I'm just like, "Yeah," because I have a mark on my thigh. And it was kind of strange because we were all kind of like wearing jeans in a way. So our legs were covered. So there was no way for him to know that I had a mark on my thigh. Or if any of us, any of my friends had marks on their thighs. But he said it's like, "You with the mark on the thigh." And we looked at him attentively and he's like, "God bless you." And we looked at him and we were just like, "That's suspicious, but okay." We said thank you and we turned around and walked out. Kind of creeped out, but yeah. We're just like, huh, that's strange. That's strange. That December I went back home to the Eastern Cape. It was a normal December, nothing out of the ordinary, but this one time I'm standing outside with my earphones on, just listening to music, living my best life, and there's this one man that lives down our street. I think he had initiated Insimba Mhlophe, but he kind of like doesn't wear his beads. He doesn't wear any cloths. Like, you're passing by the street and you just think, yeah, it's an ordinary gent. It's like, umkhulu walapha estradweni, phila nathi apha. I'm standing there by the house listening to music, just enjoying the afternoon, and he walks by and he stops and kind of like walks towards me. And he asks me to show him my hand in a way. So I kind of like reach out and show him my palm in a way, and kind of like takes it into his hand. And he looks at it for about 10 seconds. And then andijonga andixelele uba uyayazi uba umhlophe wena. I'm looking at him confused. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I thought he was talking about race, about skin color. But I also didn't want to question him, so I just nodded in agreement. I kind of said yes, kind of no. And he insisted. He was just like, umhlophe, ndiyakuxelela. I'm just like, right, okay, cool story, bro. I don't know what happened after, but we kind of like had a conversation and he left after that. I never gave what he said much thought, carried on with my life, went to university the next year, went through first year, I've told that story too. Went through first year. I did say that in first year I got into a relationship. And then the relationship ended. And I think when the relationship ended, that's when I think the ancestors really kind of like started to dial up the notch in a way. They really turned the heat up. Because from then on, I kind of like introspected a lot. It's a lot of self-introspection, self-reflection. I also started writing a diary too, to kind of like go back on the days in which I had introspected to kind of like see what I was thinking about, how I've changed, and who I am now, basically. But yeah, first year ended, second year came along, and I started having these weird dreams in a way. Weird dreams about my ex. She'd kind of like appear in bodies of water in a way. She'd appear in bodies of water, she'd be in the water, swimming in it, and I'd just be standing there, kind of like not doing anything in particular, confused, watching, and the dream would end. In this one dream, she appeared and she was pregnant in a way. We were walking out of campus. I met her by the stairs outside of the gate and she was pregnant. I was just like, that's weird, but okay. We walked together to some very far away place. We climbed a really, really tall tower. And in the tower, there was kind of like a window. Through the window, the sun was kind of like rising. And then the light from the sun kind of like became brighter and brighter and brighter and expanded until it kind of like filled the room, and that's where the dream ended. And I awoke. And these dreams would come. Maybe I'd have like 2 or 3 a month. I kind of like attributed it to a breakup. It was kind of like the things that come with a breakup. Maybe every time you break up with someone, you're going to start dreaming about them in these weird places. You're going to start dreaming about them in bodies of water, inside a dam, inside swimming pools, swimming. But nah, fam, nah. I know better now. I know better now. But yeah, that went along. I kind of like attributed the dreams to torture in a way, because I think I took the breakup pretty badly. And all of that, ndandivukelwe yinkenkqe nje enzima. I'd be in my res room just sitting on my bed. It was probably a slow weekday. And I was just restless, absolutely restless. Like I had to move my feet in a way. Like my feet had to go. Like I kind of like tap on the floor. Like I had ADHD or something of the sort. And this one day I got up, put on my shoes, left my roommate and got onto campus. Walked all the way to the other side of campus to the sports field, and I just started running. I just started running and running and running. Well, the first time I did, I think I only ran about 2 kilometers before I was absolutely tired and out of breath. But I felt this release, this as if something had been taken off my shoulders in a way, that whatever this energy was, whatever that was boiling, that wanted to speak inside of me, had found some form of expression. And from that day on, I kind of like took up cross country as a hobby in a way. Not professionally, not in any professional sense. I don't think the university has a cross-country club. But anyway, yeah, I'd wake up every week or whenever Nkenqa would rise within me, and get on the field, start running. I actually got quite good at running. Started at 2Ks, worked my way to 3, worked up to 4, to 5, to 6. And some days I'd run 10 kilometers. And I got to a point where I made it a goal that every week I'd run, or I'd have a 25-kilometer run, at least, minimum. And those runs were therapeutic. They released a lot of energy, a lot of pent-up emotions within me. The year moved on, moved on to third year. Continued running, but this time I was running 30 kilometers, and it's not like these runs, well, most of the runs were kind of like planned, the weekly runs, but the thing about Inkankle is it comes when it comes, and when it comes, it demands your attention at that moment. You can't snooze or put it off to a later date. You have to get up then and run. So this one day in third year, I think I was at home at this time. Got up, put on my shoes, grabbed my backpack and a bottle of water, went outside and just started running. These runs weren't planned. It wasn't like there was a specific destination that I had to go to. I just get up and run. Just go anywhere, in a sense. I got up that day and started running. I ran to the south of Johannesburg. I ran for probably about 4 hours before I stopped to think as to where I was going or how far I'd gone or where I was. And when I looked at my phone, I'd ran about 26 kilometers and was deep in the south, about to reach Soweto. That's when I decided to turn around in a way. And well, the way back was another 26 kilometers. So, yeah. I think that was my highest record. That day I ran about 50 Ks, close to 50 kilometers. And man, I was spent. I got home, my feet were aching. I was vomiting. And khuta. At the same time, mind you, my sister looked at me and was just like, "Dog, you're going to kill yourself." And I'm just like, I know, but I got my release. I got this thing in me, out of me, in a way. My Nkankle was satisfied, I would say. So yeah, third year ended, got red-pilled. Fourth year started, got saved, became a Christian, and I think that's where my initiation started, like properly started. It started when I got red-pilled, in a way, because ever since that time, I don't think I've done anything else. I haven't focused on anything else but initiation, learning, and just growing in spirit, in a way. So after I got saved, read the Bible for a really long time before I started on my journey on the inerrancy of Scripture, which I described in a previous video. And I spent the rest of the year in that study, in that transformation in a way. It was long, it was difficult. It was mind-wrecking in a way, because the study of the inerrancy of scripture is kind of like a mixing of the Bible, of Christianity, and the red pill. But you kind of like use the Bible as the foundation for the red pill teachings in a way. And not the red pill as in the Andrew Tate, Rolo Tomasi, and kind of like intersexual dynamics, but the more political, spiritual side of the red pill, which really doesn't get talked about much, especially on the mainstream media, because, well, most of that content is kind of like silenced in a way. It's kind of like shipped off as conspiracy theory and dismissed. Yes, people hope that it never catches on and people never understand it. Well, to understand it, you need to have gone through the two initiatory phases in a way, which is getting red pilled and getting saved in a way. Because I don't think you can go through the study and not be a Christian in a way. Everyone that goes through it is a Christian to some degree, be they Protestant, Catholic, or any other denomination. The foundation is necessary in a way. But yeah, went through that, and by the end of the year, I was kind of in a strange place spiritually. I kind of felt like an imposter in the church in a way. I felt different, like my spiritual makeup was different. I didn't really feel like a Christian, but I wasn't anything else in a way. Nothing with a name or a category that you could place on it. And I think that's when things really hit the fan. Because there was this one day, I went back home from Res and got into bed, was sleeping. I'd say by that time I had ventured into African spirituality and I started consuming some of the content. I think it was also around the time where a lot of content was being made on the subject by a lot of content creators. I think it has kind of died down over the years, especially since 2020 in a way. But yeah, I immersed myself in that content, and this one day went back home, sleeping on my bed, fell asleep, and I had this dream of these two like childlike, very small white beings. I think now I can call them greys, I would say. And they were kind of like chasing me in this dream. And I was running away, and I couldn't really escape them in a way. So I just forced myself to wake up. Woke up from that dream, I woke up kind of like laying on my back, looking up. And as I opened my eyes, one of them was sitting on the right side of my bed, kind of like knees to shoulders, looking at me. And the other was levitating above my head, just looking down at me. I think they were kind of like stating that I couldn't run away from them, that I couldn't really escape. Woke up from that dream screaming. I think my voice was kind of burnt from the duration in which I had been screaming for. And I was just like that. That was very strange. That was a very strange dream. Fell asleep again. This time, I had the exact same dream. Well, not exactly, but I was still being chased by the same people, and this was kind of like an out-of-body experience. The name slips my tongue. It's sleep paralysis, I would call it. It was kind of like I was awake but asleep, and I could see him kind of like slither under my bed and climb up from my headboard. And this time I really woke up in a fright once more. This is all happening in like the same night, and I said, oh no, to hell with this. Took up my phone, went onto YouTube, got a healer's number, and kind of like sent them a WhatsApp telling them about what is happening. Obviously, they didn't answer. And I woke up that morning and I was just like, I cannot stay in this house. I don't know, I kind of like thought that it was haunted again. There was something living in the house and I had to get away. So packed my bags, went back to Res, and I thought I could get away, run away. I thought I was safe there. But yeah, about that night, I fell asleep again. And I had this dream. This wasn't sleep paralysis, but it also wasn't a dream in a way, because I was fully conscious. It felt like my body was there. Not like my spirit or it was in my imagination. It had a physical aspect to it. I had this dream. I was sitting in, what would I call it? It was kind of like a black room, a black round room. Nothing ronda. I was in there, and in that room were kind of like benches around the wall. And I was sitting there, and next to me, going around, behleli ogogo abanxibe ijazi ezibomvu neziphika ezibomvu, and they had red head wraps. And we were all connected in a way, consciously, like we all had the same thought. We were the same consciousness in a way, just in different bodies. What I experienced, they experienced. What I was, they were, and vice versa. And I woke up from that dream and I was just like, oh hell no. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning. Picked up my phone, called my parents. I was just like, they are here. Well, they picked up the phone, alarmed, thinking that I was in some sort of trouble or I'd been harmed in some way. And I heard the disappointment in there were voices when I told them I had a bad dream. And it was just like, a bad dream, umdala kangaka. I was just like, listen, bafikile. Like, bafikile obani. Ndithi ndiphuphe ogogo, behleli nam apha. And into abayikhuzayo. And I told them, I was just like, I probably need a consultation because I need to figure out what's happening with me. So they said, okay, you can come back for like a day. We'll call a prophet and he'll look into whatever's happening and see what's up. Went back home, they called the prophet. Prophet came, took out his stick, took out his water. Wahlola, wathandaza. Yayilonto, and the man came up with a blank. Like you could see it on his face that he hadn't seen anything, but he kind of like couldn't say that because, well, he wanted to get paid. So he kind of like made up a story that they were here to protect me and they were guarding me against whatever that was chasing me the nights before. And I was there, I was just like, yeah, that's not it, but whatever, hey. I don't think I had another dream after that. The year ended and carried on with life. Well, by this time I dropped out in a way because after I got saved I couldn't study, or I stopped studying, as I've explained in a previous video, the video where I explained how I got saved. So I hadn't been studying and had obviously failed out. So the next year came, didn't really know what I was gonna do. So I just started working on personal projects, personal coding projects, and yeah, planned on releasing those. But as I was working on those, went to church again. Well, I'd always been going to church. I hadn't stopped. But the dreams started up again. But this time, it was the friends I'd had in fourth year that I was walking with, and I was kind of like walking with two girls right next to campus, and they were pregnant. And I was just like, okay, woke up from that dream. I think later on in that week, I had another dream where I was walking with another girl and she was pregnant. I ignored the dreams, went to church, got to church, sitting down, waiting for the sermon to begin, and one of the church members comes up to me and she kind of like sits me down with a concerned look on her face, and she tells me that she had a dream about me. And I'm kind of skeptical. I'm kind of like, okay, go on. What did you dream about? And she's just like, this may be a bit uncomfortable. This may be a bit out of pocket for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I told her, whatever you say, it's probably not that deep. Probably won't change much, but go on. And she tells me that she had a dream. She was sitting in the church, and as she was sitting there, two girls kind of like approached her, and they were pregnant. And they came to her and told her that I was the father of the children that they were carrying in their bellies. Kind of like her dream matched up with the dreams that I had been having over the past week. Well, I don't think any of us knew how to interpret the dreams or what the dreams meant. So she kind of like took it in a very literal sense, and she asked me if I'd fathered any children, and I was just like, not in the physical realm in any sense. And she was just like, okay. I looked at her and I told her about the exact same dreams that I had had, and she also thought it was strange. I thought it was strange too, but we moved on. We carried on. The sermon began and we didn't bring it up again. I didn't ask about it. But the dreams kept coming. Later on, I think the next week, we kind of like had to go to Eastern Cape for whatever. Not exactly sure for what, but we had to go there. So we drove down to Eastern Cape, and man, that's when things kind of like blew up in a way. I'd have like 3 or 4 dreams in a day, and at some point the dreams would happen where I was kind of like being changed physically by my ancestors from the dream space in a way. Because they didn't feel like dreams. I was kind of like awake, but some form of surgery was being performed on my brain, on my spirit. And I kind of like had physical symptoms after those dreams. I had convulsions, like during the dream, and like the acid from my stomach would kind of like rise and burn part of my throat in a way. So when I woke up from that dream, my salivary glands were burnt from the vomit that had come up, that I had swallowed, that had come up again, and I had swallowed again. So for about 3 to 4 days, I couldn't stop salivating because my salivary glands were burnt because of the convulsions I'd had during that dream or itongo. And I was just like, this is lit. This is lit. No problem. Hi. At that point, I was just like, there's no denying it. There's something strange happening to me, something strange about the world that we live in. So, I don't know. I wanted to have another consultation. Maybe if we asked someone else, they'd be able to explain it. This time I got the contact numbers of a Sangoma. Booked a consultation. It was an online consultation through WhatsApp. You kind of like send her a picture of yourself and she sends you a voice note of whatever she sees in a way. So yeah, sent the picture, sent the money, and waited for the voice note. Voice note came and it was just like, yeah, you're a spiritually gifted individual. I was just like, okay. what did she say? She said, unedlozi and unesithunywa. That was what she told me. I kind of knew vaguely what that meant from the content on YouTube I had been watching from other spiritual healers. And what ma funeka yothwasa funeka ndiyongena ephehlweni, and I have to do it quickly or else I'd go insane. Yeah, that was what she said in the voice note. And yeah, that was the entire consultation. That was it. I was like, okay. Got back home. Well, I was at home by this time. Started praying, started partnering, kind of like asking my ancestors to show me ukobela so that I could go to Pesho, initiate, get this over and done with, and yeah, maybe go back to school, finish my honors, move on with my life. But yeah, that wasn't the case. Phahla, the tandaza, and throughout all of this, still having dreams. It's like Ukoko is kind of like showing me other things. I think the first cloth she asked me was for ipalo, the blue palo, and next she asked for injeti, this one, the maroon one, the one I'm wearing now, and the black one, the black injeti. She asked for that too. So now I'm kind of like accruing spiritual cloths in a way. No, wait, the first cloth I was shown was the red cloth, just purely red cloth. That was the first one. Then came ipalo and then jetties. I was just like, okay, this is wild. But some time passed and dololo ukobela. No dream, not even a mention about it. Even though I'm still having like about 3 dreams a day. So I'm just like, probably need another consultation. A lot of time has passed. The year is moving and I still know nothing about my gift, about what it's about, where I'm supposed to initiate, how long that's going to take, who is going to help me through my initiation. So I'm just like, need another consultation. And this time, the consultation was kind of like in person. So I had to travel there. Got in an Uber and made my way to the place in Dumba. I don't know, it wasn't really in Dumba. It was just the place where the healer lived. Anyway, traveled there, got there, and man, I don't think anything would have prepared me for what I witnessed there. Because it was lit. So we get to the place of the healer. By the door, there are like shoes outside, kind of like stacked there, and I get told that I'm gonna have to take off my shoes. I'm like, okay, take off my shoes, take off my socks. We step into the room, and there's like a lot of people in there. There's like 4 healers, or prophets, or Sangoma, and about, I think 5 of Amatwasa. So there was 9 people in there, and the 10th person was me, in a way. Get in there, it's kind of overwhelming. It's a very small room and very claustrophobic. get in there, sit down. I look at Ugobela Wamathwasa, Naakoi. And she gets up from her chair where she was sitting and she just starts dancing. She's dancing, she's celebrating, she's singing, she's ululating. And I'm just like, what is going on here? And she's like, Ufigile, Ufigile. And it's like, kunini ndikulindile. I've been waiting for you. Bendiyazi uba uyeza. Ufigile ngoku. I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah. It's been a long time coming. Kunini usibaleka. But wait, before that, there was also another occurrence that happened around the end of fourth year. I was sitting on West Campus by the netball fields because that's where I used to skate. I'd skate there a lot, and I think this day I hadn't been skating. I went there to run. I ran my laps, did about a 15-kilometer run, and went onto the netball fields to catch a breath, to sit down, to relax, and some guy, like one of the guys that used to play netball, because I don't know if we have or we had kind of like a male netball team in a way. So one of the guys that used to play in the team approaches me and calls me by my full name. I don't know this man. I don't think he knows me, but he calls me by my full name. I'm like, okay. And then andijonge emehlweni, and he's like, kunini ndikubiza, awuva. I'm like, what? I look at him just like, I couldn't hear you. It's probably because I was wearing my headphones or something. And then he's like, can I speak to you, like, after this? I'm like, yeah, I'll be sitting by the bench over there. When you're done with your practice or when you're done changing, you can just come over there and, yeah, we can have a conversation since oko undibiza ndingakuphenduli. So yeah, went there, sat on the bench, and I kid you not, the dude disappeared. Like, there's his team. He went into his team. Like, I think the practice was like over, so they were changing back into their normal clothes. He went there to his team to change back, and I don't know, I kind of like looked wherever, looked on my phone, watched a video or something, and nowhere to be found. Man's was gone. And I was just like, that's strange. That is very, very, very strange. First of all, where did he get my full name from, and why was he calling me? To the point where he was angry. There was no need for him to be angry. It's not like I know him. But yeah. Moved on. So the Kobela is sitting there, she's celebrating, ululating, the whole thing. Finally happy that I have arrived. And I'm just like, okay. And she motions to Amathwasa ake ba, right, it's time for a consultation. Go and prepare. Like, I know that there were traditional healers and there are Sangomas. Like, I had been watching Sangoma content on YouTube, but I never actually seen them face to face. Like, and even they weren't kind of like over the top about it. Like they'd wear their regular clothes whenever they did a consultation. But yeah, Twasas got up, went to the wardrobe, whipped out ijazi zabo, whipped out ibidani, the entire 9 yards, and they literally started dressing up. It kind of like looked like a superhero movie. Like at that point where there's the villain on the horizon and the superhero just got called and now he has to suit up. And then bukele Clark Kent okanye i-Avengers ziyassemblisha pha ndithi kuyanxitywa kunxitywa ijazi ngapha kubotshwa ibhidane on the waist. The others were kind of like wrapping the bidanis around their shoulders, zijikeleza kujikeleza nje. And I was just like, what is happening here? Like my mouth was open the entire time. And they whipped out their sticks, their rods, their whole thing. They covered their heads. And then they all kind of like got information kneeling right in front of me. And they were all just kneeling here, kind of like looking at me. And I'm looking at them just like, wow. I was in absolute amazement. I was just like, okay. The room went silent. They also gave me a cloth to kind of like put over my shoulders. And yeah. The room went silent. And then they started praying. They started praying like there was no tomorrow. Like I couldn't even hear what they were saying. They were just going so fast. And I'm just sitting there looking at them. And the other four, kind of like fully fledged and graduated Sangomas, including Ukobela, were also there, were also praying. And I'm kind of like the only person just sitting there not praying. And I'm looking at them just like, what are they doing? What is happening here? They pray, and boom, goes silent again. And then they start going in. They just went in, my man. They started telling me about my life, about, well, the common, regular things in my life. Nothing too extra, to kind of like build my trust and confidence in them that, they can actually see into my life. So they told me all the common things up until they built my trust in them. And that's when they started going in on the spiritual gifts, on why, not exactly why I'm called, but how I am called, I would say, or what spirits I had, or the ones they could see and named, the ones that showed themselves. And then they told me about my lead guide and what she wanted. And I was just like, okay. Like they spoke about a lot of things. They also spoke about kind of like the relationships I had, that those relationships were destroyed by my guides because, I don't know, they didn't like the people, they didn't like the relationship or whatever reason. And I'm just sitting there just like, inhliziyo yam. But anyway, water under the bridge, hey? And I think at that point, I kind of like had a more firm grounding on my calling, on what I had and kind of like what I had to do. The consultation ended and I kind of like hadn't really gotten the answer as to where I was supposed to initiate or with whom. But they also said that I would have to initiate Mele Digite, Parulumdao, the entire 9 yards, eh? And they were like, oh, bro, 6 months, eh? 6 months, we're gonna do this thing. You'll be sorted out there, living your best life, working again, eh? Probably go back to school, continue your studies, or go to work, get a job, move on with your life. But you know, you'd also have the lawsy work on the side. And I was just like, that sounds doable. That sounds doable. That sounds reasonable. I was like, okay. Got up and they were just like, Tata naliyeza. Tata liyeza ufute ngalo every day at this particular time, and while ufuta ucele ba abantu abadala bakubonisa ugobela wakho. I was like, right, I'll do that. Went home, futtered and futtered and futtered. Ndafuta lade laphela iyeza. Dololo ugobela ufela. And I think by this time, even the healer had kind of like stopped responding to my texts, had stopped responding to my calls. And I was just like, Batong, what is happening here, hey? There's all these dreams, all these clots. Everyone keeps telling me that I have a spiritual calling. Funando Paramesis Tunya, PPP, Funanda Bendogita, we, Mdao. And nothing's happening. No Kobela to be found, hey? So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just carry on listening to my dreams, listening to Goko, and we'll see where that takes me. Some more time passed, probably like 2 to 3 months, before I was just like, nah, this ain't working. I need to find something else in a way. Not a Sangoma, I would say, because they weren't helping. They weren't helping me in particular. And it wasn't their fault, I would say. I just needed something more potent, something stronger. So I kind of like found the most glorified healers I could find on YouTube, like the healers who everyone said like they had all the gifts, or like the most powerful gifts, or the highest spirits that they are out there. Just like, yeah, found one of those healers and yeah, booked a consultation. Consultation came, sat down, and yeah, that healer went deep. Like, they went deep. They told me things that I had actually dreamed about. And I was just like, can these people see my dreams? I like my dreams set events. Because like the way he was explaining it, it was like the dreams I had had were part of my living past. They were kind of like my experience in a way, kind of like things that I had went through, things that I had done myself. And I was just like, that is incredible. And well, he just told me straight out, akoko bela ngandao apa. When I asked him about that, it was just like, akoko bela uzawufika, stop looking, stop praying for one. You're not gonna get one. Well, this wasn't kind of like him speaking, it was Ukoko. It was just like, Jonga, akoko bela uzawufika, akoko bela uzawufumana, and akekho umntu oza kunyanga. Uzawuhlala apho kweso situlo, uhlale kuloo room, and you're gonna figure it out. And as she said this, she sounded annoyed. Kind of like, why is this gent looking for Ukobela Dikona? Like, to her, me looking for Ukobela was kind of disrespectful to her in a way. And it annoyed her until she told me that. And after that, the healer that I was consulting with, he was also annoyed. He was kind of like, yeah, we're done with the consultation. Thank you for your time. Drop the call. And that was that. And I was kind of like left sitting in my room alone. Just been told that akoko belo zayo and I shouldn't look for one, shouldn't try to find one because no one's coming. Not only that, that no one can heal you. Akekho umuntu ongakuthwasisa, akekho umuntu ozakunyanga. And the worst part of all was that I had to figure it out. I was just like, what do you mean figure it out? First of all, akho ncwadi endingayifunda. There's nothing I can study. I've watched literally all the videos on YouTube made by Sangoma, by Amaprofeti, by every single person, and it doesn't fully cover what I am going through. Nothing I've read, nothing I have watched kind of like goes into what I'm seeing in my dreams in a way. And now I have to kind of like figure it out from thin air. Because that was essentially what she was saying. It's just like, let the knowledge come to you. You don't need to study. You don't need to watch videos. You don't need to learn it from anyone else. You don't need guidance. You don't need ukobela. You don't need a mentor. You're not gonna get one. It's just you, yourself, and your guides, my guy. And you're gonna figure this out one way or another. That was a far cry from the 6 months that I had been promised. For she didn't set a date. She didn't set a time. She just said, sit there and figure it out. And yeah, she meant it. She really meant it. It's been a couple of years now. It's been a couple of years that I've been initiating. Gone through a lot of phases, a lot of stages, and it has been incredible, to say the least. To say the least. Very eye-opening, very rewarding, healing too, a lot of healing, because I think a lot of their initiation was dealing with my own traumas, my own fears, my own insecurities, inadequacies, and all the sorts. I've seen so much, and just things I would have never, ever imagined. Things I've never even heard of. Things that have never been spoken about, not by other healers, not by anything I've read. I think the closest thing came from the things that I've read. Kind of like, there's one person, I think she lives in America. She's a white woman, and she's the closest thing that could kind of like describe the experience of Lendwaso, if I could put it like that. And I've actually dreamt about her. She appeared in my dream once, which was kind of incredible. But yeah, it is a wild ride, and I hope to get into most of it in my upcoming videos. Kind of like teach about it because, well, that's what my ancestors asked me to do. Kind of like send me here to talk about my journey, about the lessons I've learned, and most importantly, to teach about difference.